My name is Margaret Hall. I'm 62, a widow, and a mother who still keeps her son's second-grade crayon drawing on the fridge, even though the magnets barely hold. I live in a small apartment over a deli in Cleveland, Ohio. My hands smell like soap from the diner, where I work the morning shift, and my heart still reaches for the warm elbow of my husband, Daniel, every night. He's been gone for 4 years. I talk to him anyway. The day my son, Jason, and his wife, Brittany, told me to sell my wedding ring, I was making pot roast in a dented slow cooker. The ring is white gold with a blue sapphire. Daniel saved for a year to buy it. He gave it to me on a cold December night, under a street lamp dusted with snow. I told him the sapphire looked like a piece of winter sky. He told me I was his summer. Mom, Jason said that afternoon, not meeting my eyes. We're drowning. The cards are maxed. Rent is behind. My car note. Brittany stepped closer, perfume sharp and sweet. It's simple, she said, voice shiny. You have a ring. Sell it. We'll pay everyone back, and you'll be helping your own family. Isn't that what good mothers do? I looked at the ring. It looked back. My palm went cold. I did it. I stood in the bright room of an old downtown auction house, under a brass chandelier, as strangers lifted numbered paddles. Jason and Brittany stood behind me, whispering and tapping on Brittany's phone. A velvet tray held my ring. A man with white gloves held my years and my vows between his fingers like it was a trinket at a yard sale. Lot 42, the auctioneer called, voice quick like a drum roll. White gold ring with oval sapphire and diamond halo. Shall we begin at 1,000? A paddle went up. Another. The numbers jumped like fish. 1,000, 2, 3, 5. I swallowed hard. My fingers shook. The room hummed. Brittany squeezed Jason's arm every time the price climbed, like she had invented the sky. 10,000, someone called. 15, another person said. I blinked. That was more than 2 months of my tips, more than a winter of heat and light for them. I started to breathe again. 20, the auctioneer sang, delight in his voice. Then, as if the room itself took a breath, a new paddle rose from the back. Calm, certain, the auctioneer's eyes flicked up and widened. 50,000. The whole place went quiet. You could hear the dust land. Jason's mouth opened. Brittany's nails dug into his sleeve. The man with the white gloves lifted the ring a little higher, and the sapphire caught the light. It flashed like a small storm. Do I have 55? The auctioneer tried. No one moved. 50 going once. Twice. The paddle in the back didn't move. It didn't need to. The gavel fell. Sold. I didn't move either. My heart moved for me, beating in my ears. $50,000. For my ring. For their debt. For the last piece of Daniel I could hold. The buyer did not step forward. The auctioneer leaned down and spoke to an assistant. The assistant nodded, listened to something in her ear, then slipped through a side door. A minute later, she returned with a sealed envelope and a message. The buyer requests a private handoff in our side salon. The auctioneer said, they've covered the sale plus fees in cash. They would like Mrs. Hall to deliver the ring herself. Brittany's eyes glittered. Cash, she whispered. Jason, oh my God. The assistant guided us down a short hallway lined with oil paintings. My knees felt weak. Jason's steps were fast. Brittany's heels clicked like metronomes of greed. The side salon was quiet, with tall windows and long curtains. A silver pitcher of water sat on a side table. The velvet tray, with my ring, waited on a pedestal. The door opened. The buyer stepped in. Jason saw the face and went white. Brittany's smile fell off like a mask. I clutched the edge of the pedestal to keep from falling. Hello, Margaret. The buyer said, voice smooth as glass. It's been a long time. The room tilted. I knew that voice. I knew that face. And I knew, right then, that nothing about our lives would look the same after this. It didn't start with an auction. It started with a small lie and a big love. After Daniel died, I learned that quiet can be loud. The bed is too big, the air too still. I filled the silence with work. The diner where I serve coffee is called Grady's. The owner lets me take home day-old bread. On good days, I laugh with the morning regulars. On bad days, I hold the bathroom sink and cry where the paper towels can't tattle. Jason was always my soft spot. He had Daniel's kind eyes, the ones that made you want to tell the truth. He grew up making forts from sheets and plans from hope. He was smart in a hands and heart way. He could fix a leaky pipe with a bicycle tube, and 5 minutes, he could make a baby stop crying by humming softly in the right key. He could look at a broken thing and see how to make it whole. Then Brittany came along. She was pretty in a sharp way, cheekbones like angles, eyebrows like rules. She called me Margaret, each syllable tidy as a new penny. She said big words loudly, and small words like she was bored. She had ideas about how Jason should dress and who his friends should be and where he should work. She said, I love you, to my son like a vow and to money like a prayer. She's good for him. People said it first. Motivated. Ambitious. Knows what she wants. It turned out what she wanted always had a price tag. Jason quit his job at the auto shop to manage opportunities, which mostly meant driving Brittany to look at things she couldn't afford. She started a boutique online that sold clothes she never mailed because she couldn't keep the sizes straight. They got an apartment with a balcony and a wall of windows, and rent that could make a grown man sweat. They celebrated everything. Tuesday, a new rug, half a good hair day, with takeout and champagne for her and craft beer for him. When the bills came, they faced the envelopes like they were gnats and waved them away. When they visited me, it was always with a need wrapped in ribbon. We just need a little help, Mom. Jason would start. Just to bridge this month. Brittany would finish, smiling like a waitress selling dessert. I handed them envelopes of cash from my tip jar. I told myself it was love. It was also fear. Fear that Jason would stop calling. Fear that silence would eat the rest of my days whole. Kindness is a door you open. Some people walk in and sit at your table. Some people try to move in and change the locks. The first big slip came quiet. I went to visit them on a Sunday with a pot of chili and a bag of rolls. Brittany wasn't home. Jason was on the couch, eyes red, game controller limp in his hand. Everything okay? I asked. He nodded too fast. Fine, Mom. His phone buzzed. He flinched. Car note, he said, forcing a laugh. They love to call. Do you need help? No, he said. Maybe. I don't. It's fine. 2 weeks later, I got a message from Brittany. We're in a pinch. The boutique is about to explode. If we don't invest, now we'll miss the wave. Do you still have that ring? I did not answer. She called. Margaret. She sang like my name was a song and a threat. You want us in the street? Is that what you want? Your son homeless? Because I'm telling you, that ring is just sitting there. It's a rock on a piece of metal. It's doing nothing. Give it purpose. Help your family. I hung up and put the phone in the freezer like it could cool the heat in my face. That night, I took Daniel's ring out of the little wooden box. The sapphire glowed in my palm. I pressed it to my lips. I know, I whispered to the air. It's not the ring. It's you, but it feels like you. The next morning, I put the ring in my coat pocket and went to 3 pawn shops. The first man tried not to smile when he said, 300, tops. I walked out. The second woman held it up to the light and said, I can do 5, like she was giving me a hug. I walked out again. The third place had bars on the windows, and a bell that sounded like a warning. 7, the man said, bored. Cash. Today only. I went home and cried into a dish towel. The auction house idea came from Mrs. Quinn, a regular at Grady's who smelled like powder and peppermint. She used to be a jewelry appraiser. She held my ring gently, like it was a baby bird. This is better than a pawn shop, she said. Let people want it out loud. Want makes price. At the preview, they put my ring under glass. A clever light made the sapphire look like its own ocean. People leaned close and made small sounds with their mouths. A couple argued softly in whispers. A man with a notebook wrote down Lot 42 and circled it twice. A tall woman in a black dress touched her throat, like she felt something rising. I called Jason. We'll be there, he said too fast. Brittany says it's the right move. Are you sure? I asked. Mom, he said, voice small. We need help. I wanted to tell him help and rescue our cousins, but not twins. Rescue can turn into control. Help is a hand. Rescue can become a rope. I didn't say it. I never want to be the rope around my child. The morning of the auction, I made coffee and sat by the window, holding the ring. Snow dusted the roofs. The radio played old songs about staying. I wrote a note to Daniel on an envelope because paper is braver than a phone. If I sell this, am I selling you? I wrote, if I keep it, am I keeping him a boy who doesn't learn? At the auction, everything felt bright and loud. People with money can be noisy without making a sound. Their confidence fills the edges. The auctioneer talked fast. Paintings went first, then a set of silver spoons someone bought for more than I paid for my car. A woman bought a grandfather clock that looked stern. Lot 42, the auctioneer finally said, and my stomach fell like an elevator. You know the rest. The bid shot up past anything I had imagined. When the gavel dropped at 50,000, I looked around for where the voice had come from. The paddle in the back lowered. I didn't see a face. I saw a shape. Tall. Still. Certain. The assistant told us to wait in the side salon. I held the velvet tray. Jason walked like his feet didn't touch the ground. Brittany's smile shone like tinfoil. In the side salon, time did a strange thing. It stretched and snapped. The air tasted like dust and metal. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. I could hear Daniel's laugh in my memory, low and soft like a warm blanket. The door opened. The buyer stepped in. A woman in a navy suit, polished, impeccable. Her hair was pulled back. Her eyes were winter bright. She took off her sunglasses, and I saw a face from too many years ago, a face that had once sat at my kitchen table, a face that had once looked at my son as if he was a problem to solve, a face that belonged to the person who, without knowing it, lit the match that burned the bridge between my boy and the life I thought he would have. Brittany stopped breathing. Jason grabbed the back of a chair. His knuckles went white. "Hello, Margaret," she said, and she smiled the kind of smile that is not about joy. "Hello, Jason." "Hello, Brittany." "Why are you—" Jason started voice cracking. The woman lifted a hand, and the room listened. "I bought the ring," she said, "and I bought it for a reason." She placed a thick envelope on the table by the water pitcher. It landed with the heavy sound of paper and promise. "Read it," she said. Jason reached out with a shaking hand. "Wait," Brittany whispered, pulling him back by the sleeve. Her eyes darted to the door, to the windows, to the ring. "Who sent you? What is this?" The woman's smile grew thin. "It's not who sent me," she said. "It's who you forgot." My heart hammered, so hard I could feel my pulse in my lips. I had the wild urge to grab my ring and run. But my feet stayed there, glued to the rug of a room where my past and my present had just crashed into each other like two cars at a blind corner. Jason slid a finger under the flap of the envelope. He paused. He looked up at me like he was 5 again, asking with his eyes if the dark would bite. "Mom," he whispered. The woman in the navy suit stepped closer. "When you finish that letter," she said, "you will know why I bought your mother's ring. And you will also know," she added, voice calm and final, "that in the next 24 hours, everything you thought was steady will move." Jason tore the envelope open, and as his eyes fell on the first line, the color drained from his face so fast it was like a light switching off. He swayed. "Jason," I said, reaching. He looked at me through tears that rose too quick to catch. His lips parted. A broken sound came out. Brittany snatched the letter from his hands. Her eyes raced across the page. Faster, faster. Her mouth opened in a small, perfect O. The paper shook. Then she screamed, high and sharp, so loud the assistant outside stumbled against the door. The ring on the velvet tray flashed once more in the light like a tiny storm. The woman in the navy suit did not flinch. The letter slipped from Brittany's fingers and fluttered to the carpet. The top line faced up, and in plain, black, simple words, it named a truth I had prayed would never come back to my door. The room went silent, waiting to hear whether we would break. And then the salon door swung wide. A second figure stepped in. Behind them, down the hallway, I could already hear the heavy footsteps of men who carry clipboards and the sharp voice of someone asking for Mr. and Mrs. Hall. "Time," the woman in the navy suit said softly, like a bell at the start of a race. Jason turned toward the new figure, hands lifted, palms open, like a child who has just realized the burner is still on. "Please," he said, "we can explain." The figure stared back with eyes that looked a lot like mine. And that was the moment the floor fell away. The air in that little salon was heavy, like all the windows had been sealed shut. Jason's hands trembled. Brittany clutched the edge of the table, like she was hanging off a cliff. And me? I just stood there, staring at the figure who had stepped through the door, because I recognized those eyes instantly. They weren't strangers. They weren't friends. They were family. And suddenly, all the years I thought I had locked away in the dark came rushing back like a flood. The man in the navy suit didn't move. She just folded her arms, lips pressed into a line, watching Jason and Brittany squirm like children caught with stolen candy. Her silence was louder than any threat. The second figure stepped fully inside. A tall man in his 40s, with shoulders square as a wall and a jaw set tight. His voice cut through the room, sharp and controlled. "Jason Hall," he said. "Brittany Hall. You have some explaining to do." Jason swallowed hard. "Please, we can fix this. It's not what you think." The man dropped a folder onto the table beside the ring. Paper slid out, black and white, stamped, signed. Debt notices, eviction threats, credit card lawsuits, and something else, documents with Jason and Brittany's signatures on them, but names of companies I had never heard of. My stomach twisted. Brittany's face drained of color as her eyes scanned the pages. No, those were supposed to be. She stopped herself. But it was too late. The woman in the navy suit stepped closer, heels sharp on the hardwood floor. "You thought your lies would stay buried. You thought no one would remember. But everything comes back, eventually. And today," she glanced at my sapphire ring still glinting on its tray. "Today is the day it all begins to unravel." Jason turned to me, suddenly desperate. "Mom, I swear, I didn't know it would go this far. Brittany told me it was just business, just temporary. I thought," his voice cracked, "I thought it was for us." Brittany shot him a look sharp enough to cut. "Don't you dare put this on me, Jason. You agreed. You signed everything. You said we'd be fine once the money came in. The two of them were unraveling in front of me, voices overlapping, blame bouncing back and forth like a ball in a court. And then the man in the doorway raised his hand. Silence fell again. His voice was colder now, like ice sliding down the spine. You didn't just ruin yourselves. You dragged her, he pointed at me, into your mess. You pushed her to sell the last thing she had of her husband. And for what? Greed? Status? A balcony view you couldn't afford. His words landed like stones. Jason's eyes dropped to the floor. Brittany's lip quivered, but she still clutched her purse like it could save her. I felt my chest tighten. My hands were clammy. And though I didn't understand everything yet, one truth slammed into me hard. Whoever this man and woman were, they weren't here for kindness. They weren't here to forgive. They had come for something bigger, something final. The woman in the navy suit leaned closer to Jason, her smile thin and sharp. Tell me, Jason, do you remember the night 5 years ago when you walked away from something you promised? Do you remember who you left standing in the cold? Jason's breath caught. His eyes widened, darting to Brittany, then back to the floor. His lips moved, but no sound came out. That was when I realized this wasn't just about debt. This was about betrayal, about a past he had hoped to bury, but that had clawed its way back to the surface. The woman turned to me, her eyes softening just slightly. Margaret, she said, you don't deserve any of this. But you need to know the truth, because after tonight, nothing in your son's life, and yours, will ever be the same again. The man picked up the letter Brittany had dropped, held it out, and tapped the top line. It starts here. And as I reached for it with shaking fingers, a loud knock boomed on the salon door. Open up, a voice barked from the hallway. Cleveland Police Department. Jason froze. Brittany gasped. My hand stopped midair, and in that moment, I knew this was only the beginning. The pounding on the door echoed through the salon like thunder. Jason's face went pale, his knees buckling as though the floor itself had betrayed him. Brittany clutched her purse tighter, her knuckles white, her eyes darting around for an escape that didn't exist. The man in the doorway didn't move. His stance didn't falter. He simply exchanged a knowing glance with the woman in the navy suit, as if the two of them had expected this moment all along. Open the door, the voice boomed again. Police. I felt my heart race so fast, I thought it might leap from my chest. My wedding ring, Daniel's ring, still glistened on the velvet tray, untouched, shining in the spotlight like the last star in the sky. I wanted to grab it, hold it, run far away from this madness. But my legs refused to move. Jason finally broke. Oh God, they can't be here for me. They can't. I didn't do anything wrong. His words tumbled out fast, desperate and unconvincing. Brittany spun on him, her voice shrill, cutting through the thick air. Shut up, Jason. If you say one more word, you'll bury us both. Just let me talk. I'll handle this. She smoothed her hair frantically, plastering on a fake smile as though her charm could disarm armed officers. But her hands shook so violently she could barely keep them still. The woman in the navy suit finally spoke, her voice calm, deliberate, and terrifying. This isn't about whether you think you did something wrong. This is about proof, documents, witnesses. Time has a way of catching up with everyone, Jason. And tonight, it caught up with you. Jason dropped into a chair, burying his face in his hands. Brittany stood frozen, her bravado fading like smoke. The police knocked a third time, louder, more forceful. Last warning, open the door, or we're coming in. The man by the door finally moved. Slowly, he reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a badge, and flashed it toward Jason and Brittany. You're not the only ones with surprises tonight. My breath caught. He wasn't just some messenger. He was law, and he wasn't here by accident. Jason's head jerked up. You set me up? His voice cracked, fury and fear colliding. The man's eyes hardened. You set yourself up years ago. I'm just here to finish what you started. Before Jason could reply, the salon door swung open with a violent crash. Two uniformed officers stepped in, their presence filling the room with authority. One had his hand on his holster, the other held a clipboard and read aloud in a voice that left no space for denial. Jason Hall, Brittany Hall, you're both wanted for questioning regarding fraudulent financial activity, unpaid debts, and suspected embezzlement. You need to come with us. Brittany's shriek tore through the room, like glass shattering. This is a mistake. A setup. You can't do this. We're victims. Victims. Jason tried to stand, then stumbled, gripping the edge of the table for balance. His eyes locked on mine, wide and pleading. Mom, he whispered, please, tell them I'm not like this. You know me. You know I'd never. And for the first time in my life, I didn't know how to answer, because the truth sat heavy on my chest. I didn't know him anymore. Not this version. Not the man who could stand by while his wife demanded I strip myself of my last memory of Daniel. Not the man who had signed papers with lies inked in his name. Not the man whose secrets were now filling the room like poison. The officers stepped forward. Jason's plea grew louder, panicked. Mom, please help me. They'll destroy us. I opened my mouth, then froze. Because just as I was about to speak, the woman in the navy suit placed her hand on the sapphire ring, lifted it carefully from the tray, and slipped it into her pocket. Her eyes met mine, steady and unreadable. Margaret, she said softly, this isn't the end. It's the beginning. You'll understand soon enough. Then she turned back to Jason and Brittany, her voice sharpening like steel. And you too. Tonight is just the start of what you owe. The officers seized Jason by the arms. Brittany clawed at them, screaming, but another officer restrained her. Papers fluttered from the table to the floor in the chaos. The letter, the debts, the signatures. Evidence spread like broken glass across the rug. Jason's voice cracked one last time as they dragged him toward the door. Mom, don't let them take me. Please. But his cries were drowned out by Brittany's hysterical wails and the heavy footsteps of the police leading them away. And me, I stood frozen, my chest aching, my throat burning with words I couldn't speak. Because deep down, beneath the shock, beneath the heartbreak, something else stirred inside me, something sharper, colder, and stronger than grief. It was the quiet fire of betrayal. And I knew this story wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The sound of Jason's cries echoed down the hallway long after the police dragged him out. Brittany's shrill protests faded next, her heels scraping against the polished floor until the slam of a heavy door cut it all off. Silence crept back into the salon, thick and suffocating, like the air after a storm. I stood frozen, my fingers still trembling, my heart torn between grief and rage. My son, my only son, was gone in the custody of the police. The boy I once cradled in my arms, the boy who used to press flowers into my hand and say, "For you, Mommy," had just been hauled away in handcuffs. But deep down, I knew this wasn't sudden. This wasn't random. This was years of selfish choices, lies, and betrayal finally catching up to him. The woman in the navy suit turned to me, her eyes softer than they had been a moment before. She still had my ring tucked safely in her pocket, but when she looked at me, there was something human, something almost kind, in her gaze. "I'm sorry you had to see that, Margaret," she said, "but it had to happen. This has been a long time coming." "Who are you?" I whispered, my voice cracking. Why are you involved in this? Why my ring?" Before she could answer, the man who had shown his badge stepped forward. His tone was low, steady, the way a man speaks when he's sure of his ground. Your son and his wife aren't just in debt, Mrs. Hall. They've been running schemes. Fake companies, stolen money, promises to investors they never intended to keep. We've been following them for over a year building a case. The words hit me like bricks. My knees weakened. I gripped the edge of the table just to stay upright. Jason? My Jason? The boy who used to patch up broken radios from the thrift store and give them away to kids in the neighborhood? I shook my head slowly. No, he wouldn't. He couldn't. The woman interrupted gently, but firmly. He did Margaret. And worse. My heart stopped for a beat. Worse. She reached into her briefcase and pulled out a small stack of papers. Without a word, she slid them toward me. My fingers shook as I picked them up. The first page showed my name, my address, my social security number. My breath caught. These, she said, tapping the papers, are identity theft records. They used you, your credit, your history. They forged signatures, open lines in your name. Do you wonder why your mailbox has been lighter these past months? Why certain bills stopped coming? Jason and Brittany made sure of that. They kept it from you. I dropped the papers. They scattered across the rug like dead leaves. My son, my own blood. He had done this to me. Tears stung my eyes. My chest heaved. I tried to speak, but all I could manage was a strangled sound, something between a sob and a gasp. The woman in the navy suit didn't look away. I know this hurts, but you need to hear the truth. Because your life is about to change too, Margaret. You are not just his mother. You're also his victim. Her words sank deep into me. Victim. I had been so desperate to help him, to rescue him from his bad choices, that I hadn't seen the knife in my own back. I pressed my hands over my face, sobbing into them, ashamed of the tears but unable to stop. That's when the woman leaned closer, her voice soft as a whisper. But you're not powerless. Not anymore. I lowered my hands, blinking through the blur of tears. She reached into her coat pocket, pulled out my sapphire ring, and held it out to me. For years, she said, this ring was just a memory. Today, it became the key to everything. I bought it not to take it from you, but to give it back at the right time. Jason and Brittany thought they were using you, but in the end, this symbol of your love with Daniel is what exposed them. It brought everything into the light. Her hand lingered in the air, the ring glinting under the chandelier. My breath hitched. Slowly, I reached out, my fingers trembling, and took it back. The weight of it pressed into my palm, heavy with both love and sorrow. But before I could even slip it back onto my finger, the man cleared his throat. His face was grave. Margaret, he said carefully, there's something else you need to know. Jason and Brittany weren't working alone. There are others involved, dangerous people. And now that they've been exposed, he paused, his jaw tightening. You could be at risk too. The room went cold. I clutched the ring tighter, my heart pounding in my ears. At risk? I whispered. What do you mean? The woman and the man exchanged a look. A silent conversation passed between them. Finally, she leaned in, her eyes sharp again. It means, Margaret, she said, her tone steady but urgent. Your son's betrayal has pulled you into something far bigger than debts and lies. Something that won't stop just because Jason and Brittany are in custody. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Something is coming. And when it arrives, your life will never be the same. Before I could ask what she meant, the salon door creaked open again. Another officer stepped in, face grim, radio clipped to his shoulder. We have a problem, he said. There's someone waiting downstairs asking for Mrs. Hall. They refused to leave. They said, he swallowed hard. They said the ring belongs to them. The room froze. The woman in the navy suit's eyes darkened. She whispered a single word that sent shivers crawling up my spine. Already, The officer's words cut through the air like a blade. They said the ring belongs to them. I gripped the sapphire tighter, my knuckles white. My body stiffened as though cold fingers had wrapped around my spine. The ring, the only piece of Daniel I had left, was now a beacon drawing shadows out of the past. The woman in the navy suit straightened immediately, her calm face tightening into focus. "Who exactly is downstairs?" she asked, her voice clipped sharp. The officer shifted uneasily. A man, tall mid-40s. He wouldn't give his name, just repeated over and over, "Tell Margaret Hall, I want what's mine." The room went silent. Even the tick of the ornate grandfather clock in the corner felt too loud. My throat dried up. My mind spun. Who could it be? Why me? Why my ring? I forced myself to whisper, "What's mine?" My voice cracked. But this ring was Daniel's. He worked double shifts for a year to buy it. Who else could claim it? The woman's jaw tightened. She glanced at the man with the badge. He gave a slow nod, as though confirming something unspoken. Then she turned back to me. "Margaret, do you know a man named Stephen Cross?" The name hit me like a slap. My knees wobbled. I reached for the back of a chair just to keep standing. Memories I had buried deep clawed their way back to the surface. Stephen Cross, Daniel's old business partner, the man who once sat at my dinner table, laughing too loudly at his own jokes. The man who whispered wild ideas about money, shortcuts, deals too good to be true. The man who tried years ago to convince Daniel to mortgage our home for a guaranteed investment. Daniel refused. It had led to shouting, broken trust, and finally, an ugly split. We never saw him again. Until now. "He's downstairs," I whispered, my voice trembling. "After all these years." The woman's eyes narrowed. "It makes sense." The man with the badge leaned closer. "Margaret, listen carefully. If Cross is here, this is bigger than Jason and Brittany's greed. They weren't smart enough to pull this off alone. He was using them, feeding them. And now that the walls are closing in, he wants to take back what he believes is his." I shook my head violently. But this ring was never his. It was Daniel's. It was ours. The woman's voice hardened. "People like him don't care about truth, Margaret. To him, the ring isn't just jewelry. It's leverage, proof, maybe even a key." A chill ran down my arms. A key to what? Before she could answer, the officer's radio crackled. A muffled voice came through. "Unit 3, we need backup in the lobby. The subject is refusing to cooperate. Repeat, he's demanding to come up." The officer's eyes widened. He looked at the woman and the man, waiting for direction. The woman exhaled sharply, then turned to me. "You need to leave. Now, if Cross gets his hands on you, or that ring, you'll be in more danger than you can imagine." But before I could take a step, a sound shattered the air. Glass. Breaking. Somewhere below us, a crash rang out. Sharp, violent, final. Then came shouting, officers barking orders. A roar of chaos rising from the lobby. The officer at the door grabbed his radio. "What happened? Talk to me." Static hissed back. No answer. Then, through the chaos, a voice bellowed up the stairwell, loud enough to rattle the walls. "Margaret, if you don't come down, I'll bring this whole place down on top of you." I froze. My blood ran cold. The sound of that voice dragged me back decades. The rasp, the arrogance, the venom. Stephen Cross, the man I thought I'd left behind in another life. The woman in the navy suit's eyes locked on mine. No softness this time, only urgency. "It's him," she said. "And if he's here, Margaret, this has only just begun." The chandelier above us trembled as another crash shook the building. Officers shouted downstairs. Somewhere, a siren wailed closer. And me? I clutched Daniel's ring to my chest, my heart pounding so hard it hurt, because I knew, deep down, that Stephen Cross hadn't come back just for money. He had come back for revenge, and he was willing to burn everything down to get it. The sound of Stephen Cross's voice bellowing through the stairwell carved into me like a blade. My fingers tightened around the sapphire ring until the edges dug into my skin. For years, I had prayed I would never hear that voice again. Now it was rattling the windows of the auction house, shaking the walls, threatening to drag me back into a past I had locked away. The officer at the door pressed his radio, shouting, "All units, contain the subject. Contain him." But the static that came back told us enough. Cross wasn't being contained. He was taking control. Another crash boomed from the lobby. This time, it wasn't glass. It was heavier. A table, maybe, furniture overturned. The voices of officers trying to calm the storm blurred into chaos, drowned out by Cross's roar. "I know you're up there, Margaret. Don't make me come and get you." The woman in the navy suit acted fast. She grabbed my arm, her grip strong, urgent. "We're moving. Now." I resisted for half a second, my chest heaving. Why me? Why the ring? What does he want from me? Her eyes locked onto mine, fierce and unflinching. "Because you're the one thing he could never break. And that ring," she glanced at the sapphire clenched in my fist, "is proof of everything he lost. To him, it's not just a piece of jewelry. It's a weapon, a symbol. If he gets it, he wins. You understand? You cannot let him win." The man with the badge stepped closer, pulling his jacket tighter. "We'll get you out a side exit. But you need to keep moving. No hesitation." Before we could move, footsteps thundered up the stairwell. Heavy, deliberate, too fast to be officers. Cross was coming. The woman pushed me behind her, positioning herself like a shield. The man drew a sidearm from under his jacket, steady, aimed at the door. The officer braced himself, voice tight with fear. The footsteps grew louder, closer. Then silence. For a moment, the whole building seemed to hold its breath. Then the door exploded inward. Stephen Cross filled the frame. Broad shoulders, hair streaked with gray, eyes blazing with fury. Time had not softened him. It had sharpened him into something harder, crueler. His face twisted into a sneer as his gaze landed on me. "Well, well," he drawled, stepping over the shattered wood. "Margaret Hall, still clutching what doesn't belong to you." My heart stopped. The woman stepped forward, blocking his path. "Cross, stay where you are." He laughed, low and mocking. "Still sending your little watchdogs after me. I see. But you can't stop what's mine. Not this time." His eyes flicked to the sapphire ring clenched in my hand. "Give it to me, Margaret," he said, his voice dropping into a growl. "Hand it over, and maybe I'll leave you with your dignity." I shook my head, my throat tight, my voice barely a whisper. This ring was Daniel's. It was ours. You have no right to it. His sneer widened. "Daniel. Always Daniel. Do you know what he cost me, Margaret? Do you know what that one decision, his precious refusal, did to me? Everything I lost, every deal that slipped through my fingers, every door slammed in my face, because of him." The woman in the navy suit snapped, her tone sharp as glass. "Daniel didn't ruin you, Cross. You ruined yourself. You always wanted shortcuts. You always wanted what wasn't yours." Cross's eyes darkened. He took a slow, menacing step into the room. The man with the badge raised his weapon, steady, but Cross didn't flinch. "You think you can scare me with your badge?" Cross spat. "You think your papers and rules mean anything to me? I built empires out of nothing, and I'll burn this place to the ground before I walk away empty-handed." He turned his gaze back on me, and my knees nearly buckled under the weight of it. "Margaret, I'll say this once more. Give me the ring, or I'll take it from your cold, dead hand. The room froze. My breath caught. My heart hammered so loud I could barely hear the others. And then, from the hallway outside, came the sound of running feet, multiple officers charging up the stairs, shouting orders. Cross's eyes flicked toward the sound. For the first time, I saw it hesitation, a crack in his fury. The woman seized the moment. Now, Margaret, she shouted, run. Without thinking, I bolted toward the side door. My chest burned, my legs weak, but fear carried me faster than I thought I could move. I clutched the ring, so tight my palm bled. Behind me, I heard the struggle erupt, shouts, a gun cocking, Cross roaring like a beast cornered. I stumbled down a narrow hallway, every step echoing with the sound of my heartbeat. The exit sign glowed faintly at the end. Freedom, safety, but just as I reached the door, a shadow moved across the light. Another figure stepped into the hall, blocking the way, and when his face tilted toward me, my blood froze. It wasn't Cross. It was someone younger, someone I knew. Jason, handcuffed, eyes wild, dragged free from custody, and standing there between me and escape. I froze in the hallway, my chest heaving, the exit just a few feet away. But there he was, Jason, my son, my own flesh and blood, standing between me and freedom. His wrists were cuffed in front of him, but the metal hung loosely, one side unclasped. His eyes were wide, fevered, darting like a cornered animal. Mom, he panted, his voice raw, desperate. Don't run. Please. Behind us, chaos thundered from the salon. Cross roaring, officers shouting, the crack of something heavy slamming into the wall. Every second counted, but my feet wouldn't move. Not forward, not backward. I looked at my son, searching for the boy I used to know, the one who once brought me wildflowers in paper cups, the one who cried when his goldfish died. But all I saw now was fear, and guilt, and something darker. How did you? My voice trembled. Jason, how did you get out? His lips trembled. He held up his wrists, showing the broken cuff. Cross's men. They pulled me out when the police tried to drag us down the stairs. They said I owed them, that I had to deliver something to earn my way out. I already knew what he meant, but I asked anyway, my throat tight. Deliver what? His eyes dropped to my clenched fist. The sapphire ring glinted in the dim light. Mom, he whispered, stepping closer. Please, just give me the ring. If I don't take it back to him, they'll kill me. The words stabbed me. My hand shook as I clutched the ring tighter, the edges cutting into my palm. Jason's voice cracked, tears spilling down his cheeks. I'm sorry, Mom. I never meant for it to go this far. I never wanted to hurt you, but you don't understand. They'll destroy me if I don't do this. Please just hand it over, and I swear I'll fix everything. My heart ached, torn in two. This was my son, begging me with the same pleading eyes he had when he was 5, afraid of the dark. And yet, standing behind his tears, I saw the shadow of betrayal, the choices he made, the lies he told, the way he had already sold me once before. Jason, my voice broke. That ring is all I have left of your father, the last piece of him. And you'd rip it from me for him. He flinched like I had slapped him. His tears fell harder. I'm not choosing him. I'm choosing survival. He stumbled closer, his hands reaching. Please, Mom, I don't have time. They're coming. From the stairwell, a new sound rose, boots pounding, men shouting. Not officers this time. Deeper voices. Rougher. Cross's men. Jason's panic spiked. He lunged forward, grabbing my wrist. His grip was desperate, trembling but strong. His voice cracked in a scream. Give it to me. If you love me, give it to me. I gasped, struggling, tears streaming down my face. My son's fingers dug into my arm as he tried to pry the ring from my palm. The pain was sharp, unbearable, not just in my skin, but in my soul. And then, suddenly his grip loosened. He staggered backward, yanked away by a powerful hand. The woman in the navy suit had appeared, her eyes blazing, her grip iron on Jason's shoulder. Enough, she hissed, pulling him off me. You've hurt her enough. Jason thrashed, screaming, Let me go. They'll kill me. But she shoved him against the wall, pinning him with a strength that seemed impossible. The man with the badge appeared behind her, his weapon raised, covering the stairwell where the heavy boots thundered closer. Margaret, he barked, urgency burning in his voice. We don't have a choice. You have to run. Now. I clutched the sapphire ring to my chest, my tears falling hot and fast. My son's voice tore after me, ragged and desperate. Mom, please, don't leave me. Don't you dare leave me. But I knew, deep down, that this moment wasn't just about choosing escape. It was about choosing who I could still save and who was already too far gone. I turned toward the exit, my legs moving through the weight of grief. Behind me, Jason screamed again, his voice cracking into something broken, something that would haunt me for the rest of my life. And just as I shoved open the exit door, the stairwell erupted with shadows, Cross's men flooding into the hall, their eyes fixed on me. The first one pointed, his voice like gravel. There, the ring. And the chase began. The night air hit me, like a slap, when I burst through the exit door. Cold, sharp, heavy with the smell of rain, on concrete. I stumbled into the narrow alley behind the auction house, clutching the sapphire ring so tightly it cut into my palm. My chest heaved as I gulped the icy air, but there was no time to rest. Because behind me, I heard it, the door crashing open again. Footsteps pounding, voices barking. Cross's men spilling out like hounds released from a cage. There, don't let her get away. I ran. The alley stretched long and narrow, lit only by a flickering street lamp at the far end. Trash cans toppled as I brushed past them, my breath tearing from my lungs. My shoes slapped against the wet pavement, every step echoing off the brick walls. My legs screamed with each stride, but the fire of fear kept me moving. Shadows grew longer behind me. Heavy boots struck the ground closer and closer. Stop her, one of them roared. I turned the corner sharply, nearly slipping on the slick ground. The main street opened before me, filled with cars and city lights. Horns blared as I darted across, headlights flashing like bursts of lightning. A cab swerved, missing me by inches. My body jolted with adrenaline, but I kept moving. Behind me, the men followed, their dark figures spilling into the street. Drivers cursed, brakes squealed, chaos rising with every second. I ducked into another alley, narrower this time, my lungs burning. My body wanted to collapse, but my mind screamed, "Don't stop. If you stop, it's over." The sapphire ring felt like a live flame in my fist. Every instinct told me to drop it, to throw it away, to let them have it if it meant saving myself. But I couldn't. This ring wasn't just metal and stone. It was Daniel. It was love. It was every year of sacrifice and kindness that had made me who I was. I would rather die than hand it to the man who had tried to ruin my husband's life. The alley ended abruptly in a chain-link fence. I froze, my chest tightening. Trapped. The shouts grew louder behind me. She's cornered. Panic clawed at me. I grabbed the fence, my fingers scraping against the cold steel. Too high, too slick with rain. My body trembled with exhaustion. Then headlights. A car screeched to a halt at the mouth of the alley. The passenger door flew open. "Margaret, get in." It was the woman in the navy suit. Her voice cut through the night like salvation. I didn't hesitate. I bolted toward the car, stumbling into the seat, slamming the door behind me. She floored the gas, tires screeching as the car shot forward. Cross's men spilled into the alley just as we sped past, their furious shouts fading into the night. One of them hurled something, a brick that smashed against the rear windshield with a violent crack. The glass held, spiderwebbed with fractures. "Hold on," she muttered, gripping the wheel tightly. I clutched the ring to my chest, my breaths coming in broken gasps. My body shook so violently I thought I might come apart. "They won't stop," I whispered, my voice trembling. "They'll never stop until they get it." Her eyes flicked to me, sharp and determined. "Then we won't let them." I turned to her, desperate. "Please, tell me what this is about. Why the ring? Why Cross? Why now?" She exhaled slowly, her jaw tight, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. "Because Margaret," she said, her voice low and steady, "your husband Daniel wasn't the man you thought he was. At least, not in the way you remember. He didn't just refuse Cross's deal. He took something from him. Something valuable. Something that's been hidden all these years." I blinked, my stomach twisting. No, Daniel would never steal. Her gaze cut to me, steady and unflinching. It wasn't theft. It was protection. He took it to keep Cross from destroying lives. He hid it where Cross could never reach it. And that ring, her eyes flicked to the sapphire in my fist, is the key to finding it. My heart pounded, my mind reeling. Memories of Daniel flashed in my head, his late nights, his whispered promises, the way he always said, "One day, you'll understand why I make the choices I do." Tears burned in my eyes. All this time, he was protecting something? The woman nodded. "And now Cross has finally realized where it is. He'll stop at nothing to get it. Which means, Margaret..." Her voice dropped to a whisper, cold and final. "You're not just a grieving widow anymore. You're the last guardian of Daniel's secret." The car raced into the night, headlights carving through the darkness. Behind us, distant sirens wailed, and somewhere in the shadows of the city, I knew Stephen Cross was already planning his next move. And for the first time, I understood this wasn't just about debts or betrayal. This was a war. The city blurred past us in streaks of neon and headlights. My chest still rose and fell like a broken bellows, but slowly my breathing caught up with the speed of the car. I pressed Daniel's ring against my heart, the cool sapphire biting into my skin. The woman in the navy suit drove like she had been preparing for this moment her entire life. Calm, steady, but fast enough to leave Cross's men choking on exhaust. Beside her, I was trembling, every muscle taut with fear and grief. Finally, I found my voice. It came out cracked and thin. "What secret?" I whispered. "What did Daniel hide?" Her eyes stayed fixed on the road. "First, you need to understand who Daniel really was. Not just the man who loved you, but the man who fought battles you never saw." I blinked through my tears. Daniel worked at the factory. He was steady, simple. He hated risks. She shook her head. "That's what he let you believe. But before the factory, before you, Daniel was deep in Cross's world. He knew exactly how men like him worked. Deals built on lies, money pulled from desperate hands, lives destroyed. And one night, when Cross was ready to make his biggest move, Daniel flipped the table on him." Her voice dropped lower, heavy. "Daniel stole the ledger." My breath caught. "Ledger?" She nodded. "A book. Handwritten. Names, dates, accounts, transactions. Proof of everything Cross did, every person he cheated, every dirty deal he signed. Enough to put him away for life. Enough to collapse his empire." I clutched the ring tighter. "And Daniel, he took it..." "Yes. He knew the police at the time weren't strong enough to hold Cross. They were bought, paid off. If he turned it in, it would vanish. So instead, Daniel hid it, disappeared it, and the only clue he left, she flicked her eyes toward the sapphire ring, was with you. My head spun. Memories reeled through me like a storm. Daniel polishing the ring more than usual before work, Daniel's cryptic comments about keeping the future safe, the way he sometimes looked at the sapphire like it held a secret he couldn't say out loud. Tears filled my eyes. All this time, I thought it was just love, just our promise. And it was so much more. The woman's jaw tightened. That's why Cross wants it. Not because he cares about you or Daniel or even the ring itself, but because it's the map to his ruin. A chill slid through me. And now, because Jason and Brittany dragged me into this, my voice faltered. Cross thinks I know where it is. She nodded. And he won't stop until he has it, which means you have a choice to make, Margaret. You can keep running, waiting for him to catch up, or you can take the fight back to him. The car swerved suddenly into a dimly lit parking garage. Tires squealed as we descended into the lower levels, finally screeching to a stop in a shadowed corner. The engine cut off. The silence after the chase was deafening. The woman turned to me fully now, her eyes burning with something fierce. Daniel didn't just leave you with grief. He left you with purpose. If we can find that ledger before Cross does, we can end him for good. I stared at her, shaking my head. I'm just a widow, a diner waitress. I don't know how to fight men like him. Her expression softened. You don't have to fight him alone. That's why I'm here. That's why he sent me. I frowned. Her gaze didn't waver. Daniel. The word hit me like a tidal wave. My breath caught, my heart hammering. No, Daniel's gone. He's been gone for 4 years. She leaned closer, her voice steady, unflinching. He's gone. But before he died, he made arrangements. He knew Cross would come looking one day. He knew you would need someone to protect you. He left instructions. He left me. The parking garage hummed with silence. My tears fell, slow and hot, down my cheeks. Daniel, even in death, he had been protecting me. My hand trembled as I slipped the ring back onto my finger. The sapphire caught the dull yellow light above us, glowing faintly like a beacon. I whispered into the stillness, more to myself than anyone, then tell me where to start. Tell me how to find it. The woman's lips curved into the faintest smile. We start with the inscription, the one inside the band. Look closely, Margaret. You've seen it 1,000 times, but tonight you'll see it for what it really is. I twisted the ring off my finger, holding it close under the light. My eyes scanned the familiar words engraved inside. At first, I only saw what I had always seen, forever my summer. But then I noticed something strange. Tiny dots, barely visible between the letters. A code, hidden in plain sight. My stomach flipped. My breath caught. The inscription wasn't just a vow. It was a map. And somewhere in the city, waiting like a buried truth, was the ledger that could destroy Stephen Cross forever. The inscription blurred before my eyes as I held the ring under the yellow garage light. Forever my summer. I had read those words 1,000 times since Daniel slipped it onto my finger all those years ago. But tonight, I saw them differently. Between the letters, almost invisible unless you looked closely, were faint, deliberate dots. A code. Daniel had hidden a map in the very promise he gave me. Tears stung my eyes. My hand shook as I traced the letters with my thumb. Even after death, you're still guiding me, Daniel. The woman leaned closer, her voice calm but urgent. Those dots aren't random. They're coordinates, places. We'll need to decode them, but I can promise you this. The ledger isn't far. Daniel wouldn't leave it outside your reach. The man with the badge checked his watch. his eyes scanning the garage nervously. "We don't have long. Cross's men will sweep this area. Once they find the car, it's over. We need to move before they close in." I nodded slowly, still staring at the ring. My chest swelled with something I hadn't felt in years: resolve. I wasn't just a grieving widow anymore. I was Daniel's last defense. But as the thought settled, a sharp sound split the silence. Gunfire. The crack echoed through the concrete garage, followed by the shatter of glass. Sparks flew as a bullet ricocheted off a support beam. "They found us!" the man shouted, ducking low, his weapon drawn. The woman yanked my arm. "Stay down." I dropped to the ground as more shots rang out, the screech of tires announcing that Cross's men had cornered us. Shadows moved swiftly between the columns. They weren't just chasing anymore, they were hunting. "Margaret!" a voice roared, deep and venomous. Cross's voice. His footsteps echoed through the garage like thunder. "You can't run forever. That ring belongs to me." The woman's jaw clenched. She whispered sharply to me, "This ends tonight. You understand? One way or another." The man with the badge fired back, the deafening cracks bouncing off the walls. Shouts erupted as Cross's men ducked for cover. The garage became a battlefield, light, shadow, and gunfire colliding. I pressed my back against the car, clutching the ring in both hands. My breath ragged. My mind screamed at me to run, but my legs wouldn't move. Fear tried to drown me, but Daniel's voice echoed in my heart. "One day, you'll understand why I make the choices I do." I understood now. This wasn't just about survival. It was about finishing what he started. "Margaret!" Cross's voice boomed again. "Hand me the ring, and I'll let you walk away. You don't owe Daniel anything. He's gone. I'm still here." Something inside me snapped. I stood slowly, my fists tight, my voice trembling but loud enough to carry across the garage. "You'll never have it, Stephen." I shouted. My voice echoed against the concrete walls. "This ring was Daniel's. It's mine, and it will bury you before I ever let it belong to you." A growl rose from the shadows. Then his figure appeared. Stephen Cross, stepping into the open, his face twisted with rage. His eyes locked on the sapphire glowing faintly under the harsh garage lights. "For the last time, Margaret," he spat, raising his gun. "Give it to me." The woman sprang forward, shoving me down just as a shot rang out. The bullet sparked against the hood of the car. The man with the badge fired back, the blast lighting up the garage. Chaos erupted again. But in that chaos, I noticed something. The dots on the inscription, the pattern wasn't just random. It matched something. My breath caught as the realization struck me. The parking garage itself. The columns, the numbered sections, the beams, they aligned with the dots on the ring. Daniel hadn't hidden the ledger miles away. He had hidden it here. "Wait!" I cried out, my voice breaking through the gunfire. "It's here. It's in this garage." The woman's head snapped toward me, her eyes widening. "What?" "The ring. It's not just coordinates. It's this place. Daniel hid it here." Cross froze too, his gun still raised, his face twisting as he realized what I had said. His sneer turned into a snarl. "Then I'll find it first." He lunged toward a row of storage lockers along the far wall, shoving aside debris, kicking at the metal doors. The woman pulled me up. "Show me, Margaret." "Where?" I twisted the ring in the light, aligning the dots with the garage numbers painted on the walls. My heart pounded as I spotted it, a small maintenance hatch near the far corner, rusted, nearly invisible. "There!" I screamed, pointing. Cross turned at the same moment, his eyes following my finger. Rage burned in his face. He sprinted toward the hatch. So did I. Every ounce of fear drained from me. replaced by fire. I ran with the woman beside me, the ring clenched tight, my legs burning. Cross was closer, his long strides devouring the ground. The man with the badge fired again, bullets sparking against the concrete, forcing Cross to duck, but he didn't slow. I reached the hatch first. My fingers fumbled, pulling at the rusted edges. Cross roared behind me, his footsteps thunderous. And then I felt it, a small metal box hidden inside. My breath caught as I yanked it free, my hands trembling. The ledger, Daniel's secret, the proof that could end Stephen Cross forever. I turned, clutching it to my chest. Cross loomed just feet away, his gun raised, his face twisted with fury. "Give it to me, Margaret," he roared, "or I'll put you in the ground with him." The woman stepped in front of me, her weapon drawn, her stance unshakable. The man with the badge flanked her, aiming steady. And I held the ledger, the ring still glinting on my finger, my body trembling, but my voice steady as stone. "You'll never touch it," I said, "not while I'm alive." The garage went silent, the tension coiled so tight it could snap at any second. And then a single gunshot split the air, but it wasn't mine. And when I opened my eyes, what I saw would change everything forever.